I know that Hollywood is only capable of doing remakes now, but why is the news doing it as well? It's almost like I lived through this. I mean, I remember this graph specifically. The ones with confirmed deaths and recovered. Except that the ones that I remembered was more colorful. Like the deaths were usually big, bright, and red, and the plus button was even bigger. You'd usually see it on CNN or on actually any cable news channel. But that was 2020. Why am I seeing it again? Well, apparently, just like before, something seems to be brewing in China. Now they're not calling it the China virus yet. Like we may skip a couple of stages, right? You're not going to have the US president call it the Chinese virus and then the media say, "Oh no, that's racismus. You can't say that. You need to say it COVID." But I do remember the initial dismissal. If you guys remember, it was around 2019, and there were a couple of people on the internet who were posting stuff which is happening in China, and they were a little bit concerned. So immediately the media started saying, well, actually, no, you shouldn't be concerned. In fact, if you are concerned, you're probably a racist. Because here are a couple of examples of restaurant owners who happen to be Asian, and they're claiming that they're getting less clientele because people are worried about the China virus. So that's a racist thing to do. And then the Democrats had this whole thing, which was Hug an Asian Day. And I remember there was this big boat, this cruiser, which had people on board. And there was this Democrat that went to shake hands with the people to show that there's no danger. So that was like before the lockdowns, before all of those measures. And then the elections happened, right? And the elections, well, we need to lock down. We need to stay safe. If only we can save our lives. All of a sudden, things started getting a little bit more serious. Yeah. So before, it was you're a conspiracy theorist if you're panicking. Then it became you're a conspiracy theorist if you're not panicking enough. If you're not panicking too hard, then you're a problem. So that was back then, and it seems that we are following the same trend now, right? Like we're at the it's no big deal stage, and hopefully it will stay at this. Who knows? But what I do know is that it's getting very close to elections. So if we look at the previous playbook as if this is a remake, we may expect what's going to happen, huh? Now the reality is that there is indeed a series of respiratory infections in China, and they are rising dramatically. The World Health Organization wants more data. Like, they're not saying that it's not bad. They're not saying that it's good either. They want more data. However, the press is publishing articles saying that it's no biggie. The reality is that it's very difficult to tell. As a common person, you've no idea. There were some right-wingers, some Republicans that did ask the government to cease travel to and from China in order to prevent something like it was in 2020 from happening again, to prevent lockdowns and to prevent all these other things. I don't expect that their request is going to be approved, however. But it does raise the question, like what would happen if it came here? And I generally don't know. Like, I personally would think that people wouldn't put up with lockdowns anymore. Even if, like, the disease is actually dangerous and it's killing people, we notice that ruining the economy is killing people slower. But it does have a similar effect when you can't put food on the table, when you can't heat your home, when grandma has to sleep in the cold shivering because there's no money for heating. So if they were to actually do another series of lockdowns, you would then see even more poverty. I mean, just think about how your lifestyle used to be in 2019. Think about it that. And then think about how it's now. I mean, forget about what the government shows, like this is the percentage that the inflation went up. And no, like just look at how much you're paying for groceries. That's the best indicator. Like think about how much you could have bought in 2019 with $100 if you went to the supermarket. And think about how much you can buy with the same amount of cash now. Of course, not all of it is due to the pandemic. I mean, there was conflict with Russia, and that there were other events that influenced the economy at the world stage, but the pandemic was definitely one of the big causes for it. So if they were to yet again do the whole thing, it's like, oh, we need to lock down, stay home, stay safe, no more businesses. Okay, I wonder if people are going to put up with it. And when I mean like people putting up with it, I don't mean like people be on the streets and protesting. I mean like what's happening in Romania. For example, towards the end of the pandemic, most people stopped caring about it despite the fact that the media was amping up the fear-mongering. Police officers just stopped finding people. Like, you were supposed to mask up, but you would walk on the street and you would see the police officer without the mask not finding people. You had individual citizens suing companies that were virtue signaling. So there was a Kaufland store, a supermarket. They placed like these huge fences between the vaccinated and the non-vaccinated. So they got like 5 or 6 complaints to the fire department, to the health and safety protection. Eventually, they got a fine because apparently the vaccinated, if they had to evacuate in the case of a fire, they couldn't get to the fire door because of those fences. There was another lady which actually worked for the government, and she made this Christmas tree decoration using the boxes of vaccines. People filed a complaint because she was in violation of some like government law that you have to dispose of biological waste. And apparently the container of the vaccine was considered to be part of the stuff that you need to dispose, like hazardous and biological materials or something like that. But basically, she got a huge fine. And she went on Facebook saying, oh my God, this is intimidation. And the answer is yes, you broke the law. But my point is, like, when people don't want to put up with something, there are other measures of resisting rather than, going out and protesting. And the reality is that almost all authoritarianism around the world is done with the consent of the majority of people, either because they don't care or because they support it. When the left says silence is compliance, they're absolutely right in this regard, right? So if the same measures would be reinstated, it depends if the people generally want to put up with them. And I think it will differ from nation to nation. Like, I definitely see people in Germany complying, but people in Eastern Europe, very unlikely. Especially because we saw how the end of the pandemic went, and people were just, literally just, you had the cops refusing to apply the measures. And not to mention, a lot of the pandemic measures that were here, they were later found out to be unconstitutional. So, it's unlikely that the politicians will try them again. Still, as I mentioned, some countries will definitely be willing to apply lockdowns and stuff, others not. Even in the United States, you'll have like states like Florida, which will probably not lock down, but then you'll have states like California or New York that may be willing to do it. So regarding this, hard to tell. I genuinely don't know if this is going to come in Europe or not. The information, it's kind of difficult to rely on because it's coming from a country that's authoritarian. Like, the Communist Chinese Party has lied in the past. It's lied to its people. The president, it may lie to the international scale. So, who knows? Let me know what you think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.